Okay, it is 2 o'clock and it is Thursday, April 23rd, and this is a question and answer session, but with a very, very specific focus. I am spending this time helping with one of the week's assignments. This is an assignment that a lot of you, actually all of you should have started, and it's an assignment we're going to continue to do a little bit each day. So I have my paper out, and you need your paper out because this video is all about plot mountains. So some of you I asked to come to this session because I noticed you were struggling with plot mountains. So if you have your piece of paper where you did the plot mountains from Wednesday and today, take that out. If you have not got to Wednesday and Thursday's work, then don't watch this video yet. I am saving this video and putting it in the playlist so that tomorrow, when you get your feedback, you can work on your plot mountain. So this video, again, is only me talking about plot mountains, and then I'm going to take any questions at the end. So if you ask me a question now, I'm probably not going to answer it towards the end. Okay, so on your paper, you have these two, and it's actually more like that. You have these two mountains already drawn, and on the video from Wednesday, I talk about plot is just how a story goes, how a story moves. And this is the beginning of the story. It builds with tension, and then at the very top, it's the most intense part of the story. So that's all that this is. But we are very used to looking at a story in one way, in one setting. And so Amina's life in chapter 1 takes place in school, but we know from further reading that Amina also has a story taking place at home. So the plot mountain is basically every chapter you read, you're going to jot down what happened. So some of you have sent me photos of your entire plot mountain done. Your plot mountain will not be done until the end of the book, because we're going to keep adding a little bit each day. So again, every chapter you read is one little piece because the story is building. But we're not to the end of the story yet. We're not at the most intense part of the story. We're only at the beginning of the story. So on my piece of paper on Google Drive, I show you guys this. And on Google Drive, I put a fully completed example. So I think the person who wrote on their entire mountain looked at my example and just thought to do the entire mountain. But your mountain will not be done until the end of the story. Okay, so this matches the paper that I have, but it doesn't just say school. It says Amina's school life. Okay, so when you guys do a plot mountain, you should only write like one sentence or one event. And really, this is what I want us to remember, is that stories build by tension. So when we write on our plot mountain, we're looking for the tension from that chapter, or we're looking for the conflict from the chapter, because we're looking at the tension and how the story's building. So some of you are making a lot of notes from the chapter when really we're looking for the tension and we're looking for the problem in that chapter. Okay? There's 3 things that you really have to ask yourself too, and these are on the paper already. These are on your notes from Wednesday. See how being organized really helps, because I can just immediately pull up Wednesday. So when you do your plot mountain, the first thing you have to say is, where did this happen? Because it could happen at school or at home. I had someone write on the home mountain something that happened at school. If there's a conflict at school, it needs to go on the school mountain. So first, you have to think about where that tension happened. Okay? The second thing you want to say is, with who? Who is that tension with? Who is that conflict with? Is it with her brother? Or is it with Sujin? Or is it with Emily? Or is it with Bradley? Or is it with Baba? Remember all these different characters? So the first step when you do your mountain is you have to say, okay, tension and conflict, where did it happen? Who did it happen with? And as long as you do those three things, you will have a plot mountain that's really powerful and has all the important information. So I'm going to walk you through, again, how we do this with chapter 1. Because all of you that are here and anyone watching this video should have already read all of chapter 1. So chapter 1, where did it happen? And you can type this now if you want. Or you should be talking yourself out loud. Chapter 1, where did chapter 1 take place? School. And I'm actually going to put chapter 1, CH1. Okay, chapter 1 happened at school. Okay. What was the conflict? What was the problem? There was multiple problems in chapter 1. And I'm not even writing a sentence. Actually, you know what? I'm okay to write it inside, but I'm actually going to put it on the outside because I know I'll have more space later. What was the conflict? Stage fright. That happened in chapter 1. But Amina also had another conflict in chapter 1. Type it right now and I'll give you bonus points if you can be the first person. Amina had two really big conflicts in chapter 1. She told us that she had stage fright, that she was scared to perform. I'm going to give you guys 10 more seconds, see if anyone can come up with it. But when you guys read chapter 1, you should have noticed another conflict or another problem or another challenge that she had. Conflict with Sujin was her other problem. No, I didn't ask you where it took place. We already know it took place at chapter 1. Nope, chapter 1 was not about her dad. Chapter 1 was about stage fright, and it was the chapter where she started having problems with Sujin / Emily. Maybe I'm just going to say conflict with friends. When I say friends, it includes both. So, do I have the conflict from chapter 1? Yes. Stage fright and conflict with her friends. Where did that conflict happen? It happened at school. Who did it happen with? It happened with herself, and it happened with Emily, and it happened with Sujin. That is how you use a plot mountain, is you have to go through these three things. Okay? Now we're going to go to chapter 2. So again, you can start working ahead of me in the comments if you want. Chapter 2. What's the conflict? What's the problem in chapter 2? There might be more than one. In chapter 2, it started at school. There was a really big conflict or tension in chapter 2 that happened at school. Who was the tension with when chapter 2 started? Great, Jasmine's got it. I'm going to write your name down. Nice. Her dad. What was the conflict? Where was the conflict? What happened at school? Who was it with? Her dad. Okay, what was the problem that Amina had with her father? He was embarrassing her at parents' night, remember? He was asking all those questions and she was really embarrassed. So all I need to put is embarrassing dad, because that was the conflict. Where was it? It was at school. Who was it with? Her father. What happened? It was embarrassing. However, there was another conflict in chapter 2, and that was what you guys had to read. You guys continued reading chapter 2, and it changed. She went from school to being where? At home. And there was a conflict at home. You guys know who was having conflict at home in chapter 2? See how many times I'm using this? That's why it's important you guys really use everything I use. In chapter 2, when she went home, there was more conflict. Yasmaelin's got it. I'm going to write that name down. Yep. Good. And her brother's name is Mustafa. Awesome. So there was conflict at home. And who was the character that had conflict? Mustafa. Okay, but what was the conflict? Yep, that was chapter 1, Anna. Good. So I'm going to carry on with Yasmaelin's. Yasmaelin's brought us to chapter 2 and the independent reading you guys had to do. That's why this is a really great way to see who's reading and who's thinking. Yasmaelin's got it. Mustafa was having conflict at home. He was having tension. What was the problem Mustafa was having? What was the conflict that was happening at home with Mustafa? That's what you're going to write on your plot mountain. I'm not going to write that one. Yasmaelin's already given you, oh, you don't even need a period. It can just be a couple words because it's not about sentences. It's just about jotting the tension, keeping track of the tension. So add it, type it if you think you know it. We know there was conflict at home. We know it had to do with Mustafa, but we can't just write Mustafa. What was that tension? What was the conflict? That's why I drew lines, is you have to add that. Not just Mustafa, what was that tension that he faced? Good. Jasmine's got one idea. There's multiple things there's multiple ways you could do it. So yep, Jasmine, that's one way you could do it. That's one of the problems and tensions that Mustafa has. But there's also more. So if anyone else has another idea, add it. Anna, not quite correct. It talked about college, but Mustafa is not the one that wants to go to college. Yasmaelin's got it another way. It's not just his grades, it's Mustafa's behavior. That's another way. Can you guys think of another way to talk about the problem? Okay, Anna's brought in a really good point. It's not just Mustafa, it's conflict between not just one character. Mustafa's having conflict between him and who? Anna's got it. Parents. So you know what? I might just do this. Because when I put that, that tells us right away there's conflict. Okay. Anna's right. There was a whole scene about basketball, but it's not just grades and it's not just basketball. I think Yasmaelin, you know how we say it's too big or too small? When you say basketball, that means the problem was only about basketball. If we say grades, the problem was only about grades. I think Yasmaelin's got the best wording so far because she said it's Mustafa and his parents are having conflict, and it's about all of his behavior, his grades, the fact that he wants to play basketball and not do chess club, the fact that he wants to watch TV, the fact that he's getting C's on his tests. There's a ton of evidence that Mustafa's having conflict with his parents at home. But actually, I like Yasmaelin's the best. I like that better than just negative. It's behavior. It's all of those things from chapter 2. Okay? So that's how to do a double plot, a double mountain. Is what are we doing? We're just keeping track of not just any event. We're not making just any note about the chapter. When we keep track of a story, we have to keep track of the most exciting and the most intense parts of the story. So this right here is the key to doing your plot mountain. It's after you read, considering what are the conflicts in the chapter, where do those conflicts happen, and who is involved. And I want to remind you that it's usually not just one person, it can be multiple. Not just Mustafa and the parents. Not just Amina, Emily, and Sujin. So I'm going to put that there to remind you that conflict happens usually between multiple characters. All right. So a lot of you guys came and joined me live. So you probably, some of you I know have been writing this with me. But I want you guys to now, really, this would be, you don't have to redo your paper unless you realize you weren't doing it correctly. But this is the key to your plot mountain, okay? Is we want to keep track of tension. And we want to keep track of conflict. But we should not have our entire mountain done. We shouldn't even be up to here because this is the most intense part of the story. And the most intense part of the story, we've not started with it. The author's building us up for that moment later. But we're not there yet. There's nothing that's been, boom, like shocking. Like when Sadako went to the hospital and they said she had leukemia. I mean, that was the moment, right? Boom, 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 boom. When the Janjaweed invaded Amina's village, not Amina, when they invaded her village, name's escaping me. When the Janjaweed came and they invaded the village and they killed her father and they killed her pet goat, and that's the most intense. We have not seen anything in Amina's life. That's the most intense part. Okay? So that is my spiel about the double plot mountain. I'm going to save this video. I'm going to put it in the reading playlist. And now that it's there, you guys are reading chapter 3 today, and you're expected to add to the tension and to add to the conflict for chapter 3. So when you take and send a photo of your plot mountain, you need to have chapter 1, chapter 2, and chapter 3. And maybe there's multiple problems in chapter 3. I want to see what you come up with. Is there one problem? Is there a problem in 2 places? We're really studying tension and conflict. And that's why thinking while you're reading is so important. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and remember, you can pause the video. You can come back to the video. So I'm going to move this along. And I have 2 minutes left to answer any random questions people have. If you found that double plot mountain very helpful, please type in a comment now to tell me why it was helpful. Or if you're still confused, then send me, people sending me work. Then go ahead and leave a question. But I want to know how many of you out there, because I had about 10, 15 people, how many of you have a better understanding, or did you redo your work? What helped you with that? So go ahead and leave me a little message in the chat, and then you're free to go or you're free to ask more questions, okay? But I am going to cut this video in 2 minutes, but I want to give you guys the chance to answer or to ask any question you have. Okay. All right, not getting questions coming through. And I'm not seeing anyone leaving me a little message just about that was really helpful. That helped me change this. I see now. Okay, one just came through. It's easier for you. I'm glad, but always try to be specific when you comment so I know which part. Okay, so that helped you. You weren't sure, but now you know, like, to follow those steps. Okay, good. I'm glad. So your double plot mountain, I'll say for the end of this video. Good. The end of this video. Okay, your double plot mountain needs to be done for all the chapters, and it's going to be on your progress report. So use this video to help you remember tomorrow what to do for chapter 4. And we're going to continue using your plot mountain. So don't make a new plot mountain every day. Just keep adding to it. But if you want to redo it, you are absolutely welcome to do that. Please remember to send me a new photo of your plot mountain. Okay? All right, I'm going to stick around for one more minute, but I'm glad that I'm saying it was helpful because it just made things get more sense. And you kind of knew what it meant, but that really helped solidify it. Okay, awesome. I'm glad that helped. So when I call you for your conference, I may just cancel some of your conferences because I know you want time to go back and work on it. Okay, good. I'm glad. That is how we keep track of a story, is we want to look for the buildup. We want to look for those problems. Yep, no worries. This is new. We've never done this before. It was a brand new idea. The important thing was that you guys tried it. But remember, this is a really long book with lots of characters, with lots of settings, with a ton of problems. And so we have to do a good job of keeping track of how things move and change. That's what I said the other day, the ups and the downs. We have to keep track of all of it. So this is a way for us to keep track of all those events. Okay? All right, you guys are free to go. And I'm going to go continue my conferences. Text me with your questions. Please make sure you submit things in a timely manner so that I can update your trackers every night. If you submit things late, some of you don't have accurate trackers. Okay, I'm going to end this. You can always find this video in the reading playlist to help you with your assignments. All right, that's it. Thank you.